Michael Allen from Manpower. We are a national brand, yet locally owned franchise. We are familiar with the challenges businesses face. It's tough recruiting and retaining qualified employees. That's why working with Manpower is a smart, cost-effective solution. Our entire focus is talent acquisition. We'll manage your hiring and training and provide ongoing customized support. Since 1966, we have been your community-invested partner, uniquely positioned to help eliminate the hassles and save you time and money. Let us help. Contact Manpower today.
Hello and welcome to the Hub, powered by Manpower of Richmond, Portland, and today, Newcastle. And I am your host, Michael Allen. And here on the Hub, we interview local businesses, community leaders, various special guests. And our mission is to share and spotlight unique and untold stories of companies, organizations, and people who are making a difference in our community. So today I am with Duke Hamm, and we are recording here at one of Newcastle's newest restaurants called Ink and Ale. And Duke is a Newcastle native and local entrepreneur. Duke, welcome to the Hub.
Welcome. Great to have you here at the Hub building and Ink and Ale Brew House. And thanks so much for letting me join in today, Michael.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. This building that we're in is called the Hub. And when I first became familiar with it, it really gave me the idea for this podcast. So Duke's not mad, he's not upset, but we stole the name from him, to be honest, just to give full credit. So anyway, thanks for joining with us today. We've known each other for a little over a year, I'd say.
I'd say so.
And we've been talking about this day for several months. And I'm happy that it's finally going to happen right now.
Yes.
And so before we go into it, just share with us a little bit with our followers, a little bit about yourself, kind of where you grew up, your family, maybe where you went to college, that kind of thing. So
Fantastic. I'm born and bred in Newcastle, Indiana. Graduated from high school here. Love Newcastle. All my family, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents are all from Newcastle area. Lots of great rivalry with the Richmond Red Devils. Mm-hmm. And then went to Butler graduate, and moved around a good bit, come back and forth to Newcastle over the years. And Kathy and I moved back about a dozen years ago to Newcastle. And then got involved with various businesses like we're sitting in today.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, it has to maybe some follow-up on that, but we have a tradition at the Hub, and it's asking everyone that comes about their first job. You know, so being involved with Manpower, staffing, so tell us about what would you like your very first job where you got a paycheck, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. So I can't count my grandpa's farm, cutting the weeds out of the corn, because he didn't give me a paycheck, $20. But my first job, believe it or not, was at the Chrysler in Newcastle, the Chrysler plant. And it was the summer after my senior year. And I thought I was a rich man because I made more than enough money to pay for my freshman year at Butler, believe it or not, in 1977.
So that was an assembly plant, right? Were they assembling cars here?
Not assembly, but they did like dies and knuckles and axles. And,
all right.
Sent it out.
So what did they have this kid out of high school doing?
The first 2 weeks, it was working at the night shift, and we cleaned out from under the machines, the old greasy.
The metal shavings, that kind of stuff?
Metal shavings and things. And believe it or not, about 30-40% quit the first 2 weeks. They didn't want to do it. They gave you that job first. But then I worked on the knuckle line, which is around the tires. Metal knuckles, feeding them into the machine.
So I've been in a lot of manufacturing companies over the year, and where they were doing machining and shoveling metal shavings and stuff. That's kind of backbreaking work.
It was. And,
it's hard.
I was the smallest guy, so I got to go in the best places.
Yeah, you went into nook and crannies, right? So how much, do you remember what you made an hour?
You know, I made, it was like $6.58 an hour or something like that, but I also was working 48, 56 hours a week. So,
well, so far,
I was rich.
of everyone I've interviewed, you made the highest wage for your first job. So far, they've been in the $2 to $3 range. So,
Yes, and that was-
now I understand how you're able to help pay for Butler. So you're talking about different jobs that you did, and if I remember from when we spoke before, one of your first jobs here was working for Herff Jones.
Or
was that? Yeah.
Out of college, I have an accounting degree.
Yeah.
And worked for the ring company, Herff Jones Diploma Company, at their corporate office in accounting.
Right. Well, I just remember that from high school, that Herff Jones rep would come and we would pick out our class rings and whatever. So what were you doing you weren't doing that, or were you doing something?
I was doing corporate accounting, detail accounting work at the corporate office. And eventually I was a credit manager. So I'd go out all over really the country, Philadelphia, Chicago, and count ring inventories to make sure they were being reported correctly,
Right.
not stolen, and making sure our reps paid their bills.
Does that company still exist? I mean,
Yep.
I don't think either one of my kids got a class ring. They weren't interested in it, but I mean, do they still do that?
At that time, I believe we were the biggest in the United States, but is it Johnson's or something like that? Another ring company is bigger than Herff Jones these days.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about when you started to kind of venture out on your own businesses, and so where did that kind of all first start?
And I would say, I was an accountant, but I'm not that much of a detail person. I wanted to work for growing companies, and I worked well with the salespeople and the manufacturing, the working people. But where I really learned a lot was with a company called Browning Ferris Industries, and it was a Fortune 200 waste company, the second biggest in the world, and learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about trash and landfills.
Yeah.
but I was with them for about 11 years and really learned to love business, growing business, strategy. I love strategic growth is what I really love. Being entrepreneurial.
Right. So tell us a little bit about kind of what you're involved in today and kind of how those different things got started.
And the company I was CFO for, Elgin Fastener Group out of Batesville, sold out to private equity about 13 years ago.
Okay.
And as we sold out to private equity, I pretty much knew as CFO I probably wouldn't be around very long. And so Kathy and I's plan, we lived in Batesville at that time, was to move back to Newcastle, the family and love in Newcastle.
Sure.
And our kids, we were empty nesters at that time. And so even before I was let go as CFO, we had actually gotten with Susan Neal, local realtor here, to show us some houses and started to plan to move back to Newcastle. And I knew I really wanted out of corporate America. I was in my close to my mid-50s and wanted to start some type of business that helped small companies, one business owner type companies, maybe two, to strategically grow their business or help them sell or buy another business, because I had a lot of experience through my accounting CFO days.
Okay. And so is that how you got involved in Focal Point? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, yes, okay. You are. So as I was no longer CFO, I had a good exit package, so to speak, in time. So I researched. I was looking for strategic materials. Duke Hamm strategic planning didn't have a lot of oomph behind it. And that's
might today, but maybe then.
Thank you. But that's where I found Focal Point. It's a franchise. There's about 150 in the United States.
Okay.
And it was very aligned with what I wanted to do. Great training, great support. And I've been with them now into my 12th year.
Okay. And just real short, what's this being associated with a focal point or having a franchise of it, you do personal coaching or business coaching, right?
Yes.
So and they provide you with the tools that kind of helps you do that, along with your own personal experience and life experiences.
You've got it exactly right. As you know a lot about franchises and what they can provide and the resources beyond myself.
Okay. And then, so that's one part of what you do. Another significant part would be MRS, which is on your shirt there. So how did you get into the heating and cooling business?
Yes, and anyone that knows me well knows I am a absolute zero mechanically and anything like that. I was helping a friend of mine, mostly through golf, Daryl Gross here locally, owned and started and owned MRS, and I was helping to prepare him to sell his business. And another man I was coaching with a long time, James Hamilton, we identified him to buy the business, and he's like, well, I need a business partner to come in with me 50-50, and so I ended up buying MRS with him, and we're very different. He's more operational and understanding there, and I'm more strategic, marketing, financial, accounting side.
And then I guess if I'm kind of fitting all the pieces together properly, was it 2 years ago you bought this building?
Almost 2.5.
Yeah,
now.
2.5 years ago. And this building that we're in was part of the Courier-Times,
Yes.
which is the newspaper in Newcastle, which still exists.
Yes.
And like in a lot of communities like Newcastle or Richmond, they're not printing their own paper anymore, but they still have a small, I guess, presence within the community, which still exists in this building.
Yes.
But it was scaling down quite a bit.
Yes.
Like where we're at now used to be where the printing presses were, correct?
Yes.
So you saw this how did this building come up for you, your interest in maybe being invested into it initially?
Great question. And Kyle York's a younger man who I'd done some coaching, helped him buy a business. And so we started looking to buy a building downtown. I love this Courier-Times building because when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, there was 100 people here. It was 24/7, paper boys and some girls. It was just full of activity and life. And I love the building because it's somewhat different. Mm-hmm. It was built in 1962. And so we started looking at it about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And there was some negotiations around environmental concerns from the Inc. here. And it took about a year to work those out. But that's where my interest and love of this building and my vision and goal was to bring this building back to life, where there's people like yourself and Manpower, Kim, Colleen, people coming in and out of this building all the time.
Right. So that's part of how I met Duke, is that Manpower, we opened up looking for a place to put an office, and we were introduced to the Hub, which is this building, and we found a really great place that we're very happy with as far as our office. Tell us about there's more Ink and Ale is, at the time we're recording this, about 3 weeks old.
Yes.
So, and this takes up some significant space.
Yes.
But there's other businesses in this building as well.
Yes. So. And we now have in the Hub, first I got to give credit, that name came from our Main Street leader, director, Carrie Barrett, actually came up with the Hub name, and it's stuck. And we now have 10 businesses in here, from Whole Heart Communications, Christy Regal, to a man who works remote in one office, the Courier-Times. My son has the Press Coffee Shop.
Yes.
That's about a year and a half old now. Focal Point, another Focal Point coach, has an office here. Village Creations here. So
Village Creations is like a boutique.
Yes.
Yeah, you would call okay.
Yes.
And then there's Manpower, of course.
Manpower, of course. And man, is it great that Manpower would be interested in downtown Newcastle. That's how much downtown Newcastle has evolved. And last but not least, we actually have a tattoo artist in this building that does scheduled type tattoos.
I'm still working on my design before I get one.
Yeah,
so
I haven't quite got one yet.
Well, you'll be the first to know because you'll see me in the chair.
The hub.
You really, from my experience with you, you really enjoy promoting the lifeblood of downtown Newcastle, if I'm saying that right.
Yes, you are.
And you have a lot of passion for business. And what impresses me is that you have passion for your own businesses, but you're also a really good cheerleader for the other ones that you don't have anything to do with. Financially, you don't have any personal stock in it. So, tell us about some of those businesses and, just what's going on in downtown Newcastle that you're excited about, and maybe mention some of the businesses that have started up and that you're excited about.
And I really got excited about downtown Newcastle really through, I mentioned her before, Carrie Barrett and the Newcastle Main Street group. It's a national, Main Street is a national organization.
Right.
And a lot of great work for years has been done through that Main Street organization. I've been fortunate enough to, now we're going. Thank you. Little free advertising.
That's an incentive for us to finish this off really well.
So I got involved, privileged enough to be on the board and current president of the board, but that's got me involved throughout the historic district, which is very important in downtown Newcastle, and so many new, vibrant businesses like Kai's Creation, Bistro, just started across the street. Great food, great partnerships. Blue River Tap Room a little over a year ago down at 11th and Broad. 1822 and Dance Studios now downtown. Primo's been downtown for 7 or 8 years now, I believe. But there's just so many. CJ's Candy. I'm gonna forget a lot.
Right, and forgive us for not plugging everybody. It's not intentional, but
yes. 65-year-old brain.
I understand.
Lapse. But there's so much energy downtown. We've got a $2 million preserving grant through the state and Okra department at the state level. And so also I have to thank the city, the mayor, the county. There's so many people to thank, and the business owners and building owners who have taken the risk to step up. There's also been grants available through our redevelopment corporation. I can go on and on. As you can tell, I can ramble on and on about all of it.
Well, we opened up our office at kind of early winter last year, and we kind of were waiting for the spring to kind of have our grand opening, our open house, which was actually just yesterday. But I've just been impressed with just the spirit of people encouraging us. You're a great cheerleader, but there's other people that are like you that want to see businesses succeed. And we kind of had a number of what we hoped would show up yesterday, and way more than that showed up. So that was super encouraging. And it's tough starting a new business, and you kind of want the spigot to turn on right away, and it just doesn't work that way. And but yesterday was kind of a reinforcing moment for us that we were really happy with the decision to come here, and we have a lot of really high hopes for having an office, here in Newcastle.
And Michael, I want to give you a very shameless and well-deserved plug for Manpower, because our general manager for Ink and Ale Brew House, Brandy, came through Manpower, and she is fantastic, and we owe that and lots of gratitude to you and Kim and Colleen and everybody involved. She's fantastic.
So, we've covered a lot of stuff. It seems like we've just been rolling right along, but I guess kind of wrapping things up, kind of what are you excited about right now, what's going on, or even looking just a little bit further, what are some of the things that you're excited about for next year? Because we're almost through the halfway point of this year already.
Can you believe we're already there? Time flies. Obviously, continued development. Hopefully, we can develop and a couple of the bigger, older buildings downtown's kind of on my radar right now. Just from a community viewpoint in Henry County, become involved. There is a building built out in Memorial Park, and it's been called the Expo Building. We're changing the name to the 4-H Center.
Okay.
Because that's more accurate. And getting that built, getting the old Sears building bought from that organization and hopefully developed. There's a couple other buildings involved with that. And obviously growing the businesses in downtown Newcastle and especially Manpower.
Right, we need people to come out and support all these different businesses in the downtown area and also just throughout the whole community.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming on today, talking. Is there anything else that maybe we didn't hit on that you think would be noteworthy for our followers?
Well, I think the biggest thing is there's some axe throwing over there, Michael. If you want to throw an axe, maybe you want to throw one at me or my picture as we go along. But thanks so much for having me here, and thanks so much for you and Manpower to be here in Newcastle, Indiana.
Well, it's our pleasure, and I'm glad you mentioned that because this is quite the unique venue here. This restaurant and the vibe here, and like Duke mentioned, it's kind of unique. There's axe throwing here, and he has a kind of a really cool golf simulator in here, and there's a spot to kind of have our own little private little gathering if you want to here. So there's just lots of neat things in this building here, and specifically in Econale. So if you have a chance, Google Econale, Newcastle, and come and check out this place. It's just really cool. So, and
I better add one more thing, not to cut you off, but I cut you off, is I have 8 different additional business partners in Econale. This is very much a partnership that I play a very small part in.
Yeah, so you're just one of a whole group of people who are totally invested in making this go. So no, I'm sure they appreciate hearing that. And so we're going to cut out by getting into our reward, into this what I understand is outstanding carrot cake. So as we sign off, we're going to take a little bite into here.
Great idea,
and it
Michael.
Looks awfully good. Oh, that is good.
That is good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Michael Allen from Manpower. We are a national brand, yet locally owned franchise. We are familiar with the challenges businesses face. It's tough recruiting and retaining qualified employees. That's why working with Manpower is a smart, cost-effective solution. Our entire focus is talent acquisition. We'll manage your hiring and training and provide ongoing customized support. Since 1966, we have been your community-invested partner, uniquely positioned to help eliminate the hassles and save you time and money. Let us help. Contact Manpower today.